Chris.
Heath.
We're back.
And better than ever.
Oh, dude, our tongues are so good today.
Okay, so you know how you can, all listeners, please bear with me here. You know how you can wake up after a uncomfortable night of sleep and your back will be out of whack?
Woke up on the wrong side of the gamer cube.
Well, my tongue woke up on the wrong side of my mouth because, I don't know, maybe I was grinding it or something. There's some sort of tongue abrasion.
You got some gamer TMJ?
I guess you could say so. Yeah, so I might sound a little funny. Some words are kind of painful for me to formulate.
Same. Like, wait, what's a word? What's a game that you like that I don't? I was gonna be like Monument Valley Game of the Year. Hate it. It hurts me inside. Anyway.
But you don't actually have anything against Monument Valley.
No, Monument Valley, I mean,
So Heath, this is episode 20 of Mobius Tubes.
Yes, we've made it this far. It's the age of some of our listeners. I don't know. You don't have the demo data quite that specific yet.
Right. Going forward, we're going to have a lot more audience statistics than we were used to having previously. So I'm very excited for when this goes live and we can see that we have exactly 7 downloads per episode.
Okay, good. That's all we need. Well, this is, it's just for the archive, really.
So I'm bringing the passion for episode 20 here, Heath. I've got some things I'm super jazzed to talk about. But first, what, if anything, has been going on with you lately?
Okay, I want to say we're recording July 20th. The episode 20 is on the 20th.
Ah, perfect. Serendipitous.
Man, dude, our secretary is so good at how she schedules these. Anyway, I didn't play any games. So, Heath, for future reference, you're a week into the Paramount picture. I have only been paying attention to certain newses. I haven't been watching any TV or movies. Like, I have been nose to the grindstone.
Well, I respect that, Heath.
You'll have to pull through for both of us.
Well,
I can talk about my Steam purchases because we did the Steam sale.
Okay, yeah.
And I can talk about my future Epic Game Store downloads, if you know what I'm saying.
Nice. Why don't you tell us about your Steam purchases since you mentioned them?
Yes, the last day of the Steam sale, I was looking at my library and thinking, this could use a couple more multiplayer games.
Ooh.
Chris, what's the last multiplayer game that I've played?
Might it have been when we 1v1'd in Wargroove several months back?
Yes, we did 1v1 in Wargroove.
I'm guessing you never touched the Red Dead Redemption 2 multiplayer?
I have yet to, even though my brother has the copy of the game, and we could totally be palling around on our matching app-related horse names. The game, okay, one of the games I bought is one that's been on my wish list for a long time. I have a pretty small wish list. It was just only like 7 games.
So it's carefully curated is what you're saying.
Correct. I bought Dead by Daylight. The horror film franchise related survival 1v4 game. An
asymmetric multiplayer game.
Yes, because the one player plays the killer, be it like a witch or what's his name? I was gonna say Mark Hamill. Who's like Jason? Yeah, Jason. That's his name.
Yeah.
He has a scary mask and a knife. One player plays the killer, and it's up to all the civilians to power up these generators that'll allow them to open the door that lets them escape the graveyard or the slaughterhouse or whatever spooky locale. So yeah, I bought that. I have yet to boot it up. It's one of a few games that I have bought and never played. City Skylines, that, Dead by Daylight, and Hearts of Iron 4.
Wow, a Paradox game, huh?
Yes. So you're most familiar with Europa Universalis.
Yeah.
Which is basically the Euro version of Civilization.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas I was going to make a flight simulator comparison. If there were a fun game where you could just fly around, just hanging out, Europa Universalis would be the literally calibrated to the smallest minutia, micromanage your attrition is something you have to worry about with your people. And then like marital alliances.
Yeah. Paradox games are known for their steep learning curves.
Way different from I put a farm on this wheat, it produces one more food. Europa Universalis is pretty tricky. I didn't buy that game. I bought Hearts of Iron 4, which is the World War II themed skin of that game, basically.
Interesting.
Yes, and I've been watching a guy on Twitch for the longest time, Quill18. He is the strategy guy. He played some Into the Breach as well. But he plays Hearts of Iron 4 sometimes, and you'll see these playlists of which he takes on these fictional nation states and goes in a certain direction. So whereas in Civilization, you'll do like Warmonger Gandhi or cultural Genghis Khan, or something like wacky that you can just challenge yourself to do. In Hearts of Iron 4, there are playlists where you see the thumbnail and it's like communist Brazil, friggin' non-aggression Germany. What if Hitler didn't do anything? And then by the end, you see there's like a weird alliance between like Peru, America, and Finland. And then it's like, what? And that's the kind of thing. If I can put communism into anything, I will. Just for the laughs.
That might be the episode title right there.
No, hopefully not. If I run for public office.
So what's intriguing to you is maybe taking this historical game and converting it into this weird alternate history scenario that you concoct?
Yeah, sort of like a what if scenario think piece. That's not how I play Civilization. Civilization is just like comfort food. I can just follow a groove. I anticipate booting up Hearts of Iron 4. Remember this, I have yet to boot it up. I anticipate playing with 2 monitors, one with the game and then one with Quill18's complete beginner's guide.
Yeah.
And once I figure out how to levy taxes and all of the what did we call it with Breath of the Wild? How it's nitty gritty, it's fine details.
Granular?
It's granular, yeah. Once I figure out the granularities of Hearts of Iron, Hoi 4, as the cool kids call it, Hearts of Iron, then I will flip over and be like communist Africa or, fascist Canada and like fun things like that.
Well, I'm looking forward to this development, Heath, because if you come back with some positive impressions, that might be the incentive I need to finally boot up Crusader Kings 2, which is in my Steam library, another Paradox game, one that I have not tried out yet.
Okay, good. And then let's go into the Epic Games Store. How would you describe my reaction when I booted up my desktop and then the Epic Games notification at the bottom right of the screen said, Limbo is available for free?
I'm not sure I've ever seen you express more emotion than in that moment.
Limbo is the predecessor to one of my favorite games, Inside, and your favorite game, because if it's not, we're not friends anymore.
I love Inside.
Good.
Less enthusiastic about Limbo, primarily because I just feel like Inside takes the Limbo formula and improves on it.
Yes, Limbo feels more like a tech demo of what Inside would become. If you have played neither, pick this up. It's free. All you have to do is wade through the filth that is the Epic Games Store, and it was easy enough for me to find, right? It was just a notification. I don't even know what box I checked to make that happen. I usually turn off Chrome notifications. Chris, how do you manage your notifications on your desktop of choice?
I don't do a whole lot of managing. I usually just click clear all.
Yeah. I usually do not disturb on my laptop because then I'll get Reddit and then like the calendar app things just spamming the top right, or like Adobe Creative Cloud. It'll be like, oh, we installed 2 updates, and it's like, oh, thanks. Whatever.
All right. So sweet. I've got an exciting development for you.
Okay.
Mere hours before meeting to record this podcast, we were upgrading my internet at my house. We used to be old Time Warner Cable internet subscribers. And, if you follow the news, Time Warner Cable acquired by Spectrum.
Yeah.
So I found myself this morning in a Spectrum store looking to exchange our ancient modem for a brand new one. We were on this old Time Warner Cable Legacy plan. So apparently the new minimum internet speeds for Spectrum users is a 100 megabits download speed.
That's
and
good.
Previously, we were only on a 30 megabit download speed.
Oof.
So this is more than triple the internet speeds we were used to getting. And it's all set up now. The new modem is installed. And I was thinking to myself when I got home, what should I do to celebrate this brand new future wave technology I'm experiencing? What's the biggest game I can download to flex our new internet connection?
You can see me try to think of something like 1v1 Centipede, or I don't, it's just like
Microsoft Solitaire.
Yeah, the least intensive game is what I was trying to think of. But
so this is going to be great when the PC inevitably gets its Red Dead Redemption 2 port, because that game is a whopping 89 gigabytes.
Right.
It's huge. I don't even know if that's including any patches or anything. So, taking this inspiration, I came up with a little game for you. Which game is the bigger file size?
Okay.
And it's going to be a 50-50 guess here. I've got two games squaring off against each other. Kind of like how we did the highest grossing game of last year game.
Yeah.
I've tried to lump these into categories. And I have 7 questions for you. Or 7 competitions.
Okay. For every gig that I'm off, I have to install that many gigs of I don't know.
Well, I'm going to make it easier on you, Heath. I think it would be too hard if I was going to ask you what is this game's file size.
Dude, I am the book guesser. You forget.
All right. Yeah. I don't know if those skills translate here. So I'm just going to name 2 games and ask you which one has the bigger file size.
This is like Silicon Valley compression level. You have to think of how like they package it necessarily.
So without further ado, category number 1, great looking faces. We have Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, one of Naughty Dog's more recent endeavors, and Detroit Become Human. Some great faces on that Android-looking game. So between these two, which do you think is the bigger file size? And I have all of the exact numbers.
I want Uncharted's release date.
Sure, that was May of 2016.
Right. So this is years apart.
About 2 years apart, yep.
File sizes have gotten larger on average.
On average, that's right.
That's the trend.
That's the trend.
I want to say, can you tell me, did Uncharted 4 come on 2 discs?
You know, I think for the most part, multiple disc releases have been kind of done away with.
Really?
Because even when
L.A. Noire...
I'm thinking current gen consoles.
Okay, yeah.
Because even when the disc is not sufficient to hold the whole game, you just make up that difference with downloads. I should specify, before you make your final answer, where did I get these numbers from? My methodology was to boot up a Chrome web browser, go to the official PlayStation store, and look at each game's
minimum specs.
Each game's standard edition download size. So this is excluding any DLC, and I'm unsure if this is including patches. I would err on the side of this is probably not including patches, but I use the same method for all of these games to keep it consistent.
Okay, I gotta make a decision. I'm gonna say Detroit Become Human is probably of a larger file size than Uncharted 4. I'm gonna say Detroit is 35 gigs, and Uncharted 4 is more like 25.
Got it. Well, in this case, Detroit Become Human clocks in at 42.4 gigabytes. So you weren't too far off. And Uncharted 4 was 47.4 gigabytes.
Oh.
So just a little bit bigger, actually. Despite the fact that it came out 2 years earlier.
Almost twice as big as I thought it was going to be, Uncharted 4.
Next up, we have the From Software category. The new release, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah.
Coming up against Mobius Tube's favorite, Bloodborne. Do you need any release date information?
No, because Bloodborne came out a development cycle before Sekiro.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I think, Bloodborne's huge, though, from my memory.
It's a lengthy game, that's for sure.
Yeah. Sekiro's not that big. Yeah, we're going to go Bloodborne. Bloodborne's like probably just as big as the other ones. Bloodborne's like 50 gigs, and then Sekiro's like 40, even though Sekiro came out later.
Here we go. This one,
what are you doing
out of all of these, this one is maybe the most surprising to me.
Oh, no.
Bloodborne clocks in at 27.2 gigabytes.
It's a drop in the bucket.
And Sekiro is a mere 12.5 gigabytes.
That makes sense to me, actually.
So you were correct. Bloodborne was the bigger game. I was shocked how small Sekiro is.
Oh, like a hallmark of FromSoft is like, see that mountain? You can climb that. Or at least that was the case for the Dark Souls-ish
Very
games.
often, you'll be able to look back and see areas you had come from
the other
previously.
end of the skybox is a building, and then you'll end up in that building.
Yeah,
or that's like they are drawn to scale as best they can. Sekiro, I have yet to see a sprawling either like complex of buildings and landscapes. All I remember of Sekiro is a guy on the roof.
Okay. This next one, we're going down to the other end of the spectrum, smaller games. These are both early access success stories. So we have Dead Cells from last year and Slay the Spire from this year.
Okay. What does Slay the Spire look like?
It is a deck building game with...
Oh, that's a giveaway.
2 characters. It's your character on the left, kind of like an enemy mob or monster you're
like
fighting.
Darkest Dungeon, kind of.
It is the same kind of perspective as Darkest Dungeon.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm not cheating it by looking at these, am I?
I think you're well within your rights to do that.
Okay, yeah. What the heck did you say first?
Dead Cells.
Yeah, well, okay, I know what Dead Cells looks like. Dead Cells is probably just going to be a teensy smaller than Hollow Knight, right? Because Dead Cells is a Metroidvania, and although we can't say that word anymore, I was told.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think it kind of that was a Polygon article, though we can't say Metroidvania anymore. Let's not go into that because that's just blatant. We're gonna have corrections this episode. What is it? Not Bloodborne. What the heck was the other one?
Dead Cells and Slay the Spire.
Slay the Spire. Oh, watch it be bigger. Slay the Spire doesn't have animations, though. It doesn't look like. Well, it has
some rudimentary
some
ones.
sprite work and stuff. Nah, okay, I'm going back on what I said. Dead Cells is a bigger file than Slay the Spire, but like it's a difference of 500 megs.
So here we go. Dead Cells in its entirety is 472 megabytes.
Uh-huh.
Slay the Spire, 453.
Okay.
So you were right.
It's a difference of 50 megabytes.
More like 20.
Okay.
They were very close. Each one less than half a gig. Moving on, we have the recent Sony first-party exclusives. We have God of War from last year.
A behemoth of a game. Oh, my God.
And Days Gone from this year.
Days Gone is the man leaning up against the motorcycle.
The freakers running around.
And that's all I know. But it can't be any bigger than like a Dying Light, which was another zombie-ish game.
It is, yeah. Worth noting that Days Gone is kind of a traditional open world. God of War, I'd call that an interconnected open world, but not open like you would think of a Red Dead.
It's somewhere between Days Gone, God of War, and then Senua's Song, linearity.
Senua's Sacrifice.
Senua's singing, Just Dance, Senua's Sacrifice. We're going to say God of War. It's God of War. God of War is huge. If Days Gone is bigger than God of War, you might as well rename that game to Hard Drive Space Gone because it will have filled up your console.
It's worth noting these 2 games are less than a gig apart.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. Challenge accepted. God of War is 55 gigs, and then Days Gone is 54.
God of War, 38.7 gigs.
Way too far.
Days Gone, 39.5. Just a fraction of a gig more.
Come on, Kratos. Couldn't you grown your beard a little bit longer to shave off a couple of gigs?
There weren't quite enough textures in his beard to make up the difference.
Dang.
All right, next.
Should have recorded more boy voice lines.
Yeah.
To pad that file size.
Next up, we have what is apparently a dirty word, I've been told, the Metroidvania category.
Well, okay. I mean, we'll report on that maybe next week.
Time to check yourself because Hollow Knight is in this category up against a recent release, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Bloodstained. Okay. That was a talking point of the Castle Super Beast Boys. Hollow Knight is so expansive. The main hallmark is like you're literally exploring and uncovering the map. And granted, the gameplay is not file intensive, I would say. I have yet to see Bloodstained's gameplay.
Why don't you pull up an image?
Why don't I pull it up? Oh, yeah. That's just Symphony of the Night looking.
Now, maybe I'm incorrect about this. I think Hollow Knight uses 2D models while Bloodstained uses 3D models on a 2D plane.
Uh-huh. Okay. Which adds to the storage space.
Potentially.
Uh-oh. Well, let's just hope. Okay, so this looks... Bloodstained's art style looks like they spent a lot of time on it. And I'm going to infer that the more time they spent on the art, the less time they spent on the actual duration of the game. So I'm thinking Bloodstained is a relatively shorter game, whereas Hollow Knight, even though its 2D animation might have been a lot quicker, less file intensive, they made it so expansive that I'm going to say Hollow Knight is a bigger file than Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. This is going to be a difference. Hollow Knight's going to be 12 gigs, and Ritual Bloodstained is going to be like 10.5.
Well, your gig estimations are pretty close. Okay. We've got Bloodstained at 8.1 gigs.
Okay.
Hollow Knight at 5 gigs.
Dang, come on. Well, kudos to the compression guys. Like, they really just pack a lot of... Hollow Knight is a tight 5.
All right, we've got 2 questions remaining.
I think I've gotten 2 right so far.
2 more. Let's see if you can get above 50%.
That's the goal.
We've got the big RPGs of 2015. We have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and Fallout 4.
Ooh.
Big open world, super detailed visuals, lots of spiraling quest lines in both of these.
I thought Fallout 4 was like 40 gigs, but The Witcher... You played The Witcher for like 100-something hours.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. I doubt that's 4 playthroughs.
You've
played through it more than once.
My first playthrough with all the DLC included, which is not factored into this number, was like 140 hours.
Yeah. You played that thing for like 100 hours.
I think the base game only took me like 90-ish hours.
But the byline is The Witcher was huge, but is it more than 40 gigs? Yeah, all right. We'll give it to The Witcher. The Witcher 3 is probably greater than 50 gigs. And that's so much though. That's for 2015. 2015. Oh, for 2015. Okay, we'll say that The Witcher 3 was 40 gigs and we'll give Fallout 4 I thought I saw at one point that it was like 40. Oof, I'm swimming in the dark. Fallout 4 is 5 gigs less than The Witcher 3.
All right, you say Fallout. Witcher 3 is the larger game.
Yeah, Witcher 3 is huge.
Fallout 4, 32.1 gigs.
40 wasn't that bad.
Witcher 3.
Give me 37. Give me 37.
31.
Okay. Oh, no. That's the wrong direction.
Yeah. Fallout 4 was the bigger one.
No.
So I'm sorry that 50% is out of reach. But last question. Try to redeem yourself to some extent.
Okay.
We have the superhero showdown here. We have Rocksteady's latest entry in the Arkham series. We have Batman Arkham Knight.
That I didn't play. And then your Insomniac.
And Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man.
These came out 3 years apart?
That's right. 3 years apart.
Okay. And Marvel, yeah. Spider-Man is the most popular PlayStation 4 game.
I think it's its best-selling exclusive.
Oh, okay.
I might need to be fact-checked on that, but I think I heard that statistic.
I do not think Arkham Knight is bigger. If it is, I really ought to play Arkham Knight because, I played through Arkham City, I think twice, and that was my jam. No, yeah, Spider-Man is going to be greater than 50 gigs. And then Arkham Knight's only like 32. Yeah, it's as small as your Witcher.
All right.
Arkham Knight's not that big.
Spider-Man.
The Batmobile is like 1 megabyte.
Spider-Man is 47.4 gigabytes.
I was very close. And then Arkham Knight. Okay, so if that's 47, Arkham Knight's going to be, because I know you're just going to compare things. Arkham Knight's 39.
Arkham Knight, 49. Arkham Knight is bigger. To be specific, 49.5 gigs.
Okay, thank you. For what reason? Are the warning punch in, like the counter indicators, are they like 4K high res or like badly compressed?
Having played Arkham Knight, it is significantly longer than the other Arkham games.
Really? Oh man, I totally should have played these.
Actually, it really impressed me with its visuals. I think despite the fact that it's now an older, about 4 years old now, I think it's one of the better looking games out there.
Okay. What was the most shocking part of this game, besides the fact that I'm bad?
It's tough guessing game sizes. It can really vary.
Hollow Knight is such a small box.
Just 5 gigs.
Just 5 gigs. You can put that on a toaster.
It's a eye-opening segment, I suppose.
Okay.
Some of those games are very big. If you bought a launch day Xbox One way back in 2013, that had 500 gigs of memory, and some of that was taken up by the operating system. You wouldn't be able to fit too much more than this.
Right. So when are file sizes going to go down?
We have to have a big compression algorithm breakthrough, I suppose.
Get on it. I don't even remember the character's name.
Richard from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, but who's he played by? Hellberg? I don't know. No, that's the other guy. I like Silicon. It got renewed for its final season, I heard.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's one of the few comedies I like. Yeah, middle out compression. Great scene. Okay.
Man, I gotta redeem myself after that game. Everyone calculate how many gigs I was off by, even though I think I didn't give a total for all of them.
I intentionally made it as tough as I thought I could.
It was a challenge, yeah. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. So that brings me to the games I've been playing this past week. And I've finished up Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
Senua's song, you sing the demons away.
No spoilers. Okay. Don't need to worry about that. Suffice to say, Heath, I really like this game.
Okay, good. I didn't think it would drop the ball.
My opinion has improved quite a bit over the last time I checked in.
Why?
Playing Hellblade, it's not what I would call a fun game.
Ooh.
And I think it's all the better for it.
Uh-huh.
Let me take you back to episode 5 where we talked about, do games need to be fun? Should they strive to be enjoyable experiences? And I think Hellblade really separates itself from the rest of the pack by being a very compelling, engaging game that offers a one-of-a-kind experience. So the subtitle on the game is called Senua's Sacrifice. It's not Senua's Adventure. It's not Senua's Happy Trails. It's Sacrifice. And she goes through hell, literally.
Oh, because
she's trying to get to Helheim, cool. the land of the dead in Norse mythology.
Yeah, to fight the Nidhogg.
Potentially.
How many Nidhoggs are in this game?
Okay. Listeners, cover your ears. If you don't want to know, there are 0 Nidhoggs.
Oh, Chris is nodding his head.
As far as moments of levity in this game, there's hardly any, and they're almost exclusively...
You don't have a head on your belt that's cracking jokes?
The head on your belt, the head of your dead lover on your belt, who you're trying to put his soul to rest.
Wait, was I really? I was making a God of War joke.
No, you've got a head on your set belt.
What is it with Norse games with the sidekicks on your belt?
So, there are lots of parallels you can draw to God of War. There are these like lore stones you can find. They're kind of like the game's only collectible per se, and if you find one, it'll narrate a cool snippet of Norse mythology, some of which was covered in God of War, so it was cool hearing things from a different angle. This game actually came out before God of War, so you could say God of War was kind of stealing
leeching
ideas.
on Senua.
Yeah, getting on the Senua hype train.
Yeah.
So, like I said last week, this game has AAA visuals, but don't get me wrong here. Don't make the mistake of thinking this is necessarily a AAA game, because, with all these big budget games, there's almost this intrinsic expectation that there's going to be kind of lots of mechanics bolted on to the point where it's a little bloated. I'm stealing this from a Donkey video. During his video covering Marvel's Spider-Man, he says, this really cracked me up. You can tell that the devs at Insomniac were really proud of this circuit puzzle game because they always include an ever-present skip button whenever you are playing one of these puzzles. So you can just never even touch one of them if you don't want to. As far as what the puzzle's like, picture like one of those BioShock directing the flow of water puzzles through pipes. It's basically that, but a circuit. Yeah, so this game is laser focused on just giving you a very touching take on Senua's mental illness and the persecution she suffers because of it, because she's living in a time where her condition is misunderstood. And I like that this game is so committed to peak immersion. This game goes to great lengths to make you forget you're playing a video game. And what do I mean by that? This game has no HUD elements whatsoever. You never see Senua picking up ammo or anything to see your number.
Plus 20 XP to your mind palace.
Right. The only thing on the screen is the game itself. And, you might wonder, how do you communicate enemy health bars to the player in this game? This game has enemy degradation to it. So every time Senua slashes a guy, he's going to get a cut or a wound. And the bloodier the enemy gets, the closer he is to death. So that's smart.
Very Resident Evil, I think.
To an extent, yeah. Because, and like maybe
the models themselves of the enemies in Resident Evil, like the zombie guys, they were decayed and whatnot, and then you just put on pieces that looked and then you'd chip away at it, and it would show damage.
Yeah, and you have this one ability called Focus, which will recharge over a certain amount of time in combat, and then when you use it, it'll slow down time temporarily.
It's Deadeye.
Kind of. I mean, it's a melee focused game, so you're not shooting per se. But so how do you know when your focus recharges? Well, Senua's wearing this mirror on her hip, and as the symbols on the mirror refill, once they're fully charged, that's when you know your focus is prepared.
You said that, but all I was thinking of is the same joke where I'm going to be like the voice in your head, the recharge. You know what was another joke that I wanted to do the other time? Please tell me that Gilbert Gottfried provided his voice work for this game. You know who Gilbert Gottfried is, right?
Why don't you remind the listeners?
Oh, you totally know. It's you watch Aladdin. It's Iago the parrot. His voice is like this. It's like, oh, Senua, what are you doing?
No, I can picture the voice.
Okay.
No need to load it up.
Fine.
As you're playing a game, the game to some extent needs to teach you its mechanics, right? But Senua does not say, hold the phone, let me give you a tutorial. That would remind you you're playing a game. And it's committed to its experience, so, you come across a new enemy type, kind of this ethereal guy who your sword strikes pass right through.
Uh-oh.
How are you supposed to figure out how to deal with him? And that's where the voices come in. They will kind of, if you're struggling to figure something out, the voices will subtly nod to you, give you advice in the right direction. They'll start to very desperately say, like, you need to focus now, focus. So those ethereal enemies are only damageable when you're in that focus state. They never have to pause the game to tell you this. It comes across naturally, organically.
I totally want to listen and hear like the change in the emphasis where like one voice is like, Senua, you need to focus. And then like another guy's like, yes, Senua, focus. and then like, it's the very like, you're still fighting this ethereal after like 5 minutes. And then there's a guy that's like, focus, TM. I think it's the right trigger. Oh no, you're playing and then it's F. It's literally F.
And like I mentioned last time, the camera perspective is really close up to Senua, so you can more easily relate to her actual perspective. I think the voices are particularly effective in this game. There could be a movie per se that simulates this to some extent, where you have headphones on and the character in the movie is also experiencing voices like you. But in the game, that extra layer of effectiveness is because the voices are dynamic. So when you're controlling the camera and swinging it around and looking at various things, the voices are changing what they're saying on the fly in response to whatever you're looking at.
Okay.
So in a movie where you might get the same string of voice lines the same way every time, this game tailors the voices itself to what stands out to you, what you are putting your attention on. So it's great. Yeah, I really liked it. You know, I was saying this game has some very uneasy, unnerving sections to it. As I continued playing, it definitely crosses the line into a full-blown horror game at times for certain segments. Really chilling stuff. The middle section of the game, kind of a nice break from combat. There were no fights at all. You were going on certain trials, each of which was a good excuse to like put you in a very different kind of environment and introduce new mechanics to in each one of these little segments.
You're saying it's not always Celtic swamps?
Yes, you will go elsewhere.
You go to the city?
There's even one section where you're almost in pitch blackness.
Okay. Oh, and the voices are like, it's really dark.
I will say towards the last third of the game, the amount of combat elevated quite a bit, more so than I might have wanted. But to a certain extent, I feel like that is maybe the repetitiveness and the kind of slog the combat becomes. You could make a case that it is an intentional part of the game's theming.
Oh, you didn't just say that, did you?
You take issue with that?
Friggin', are you telling me who made Senua's song? Senua's Sacrifice.
Ninja Theory made it.
Are you telling me Ninja Theory pulled a Undertale? Because so if you're trying to kill everything in Undertale, the game will literally try to stop you and make the spawn rate of new enemies excruciatingly, intentionally long. So that you can't depopulate the world unless you are literally walking in a circle for however many minutes.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
The number of fights in this game is static. Everyone will fight the same number of enemies.
No, but like combat sucks because you shouldn't try to kill everyone.
No. The combat, it is
indicative of the sacrifice.
I'm interpreting it as kind of a metaphor in this game. I'm not sure if all of these fights are actually happening.
In your mind.
It can be difficult to discern what is reality and what is not in this game. But overall, I liked it a lot. I thought the ending was solid. You know, I mentioned I wasn't able to describe it very well last game with some of the funky visuals in this game.
Talk about the fire.
It makes use of live action video.
What?
Yeah. Certain visions. Oh, well,
yeah, the girl on the cover.
No, Senua herself is an in-game model. But for the very small cast of other characters in the game, they will sometimes you'll see something in the environment that vaguely resembles a face, and then a real live action person's face will be superimposed over it and will start talking to you.
Oh, okay. Like Borderlands.
I wouldn't. Yeah, because the angel,
the lady
character,
in the top middle.
Yeah, very tonally different, but I guess so.
Look at these connections that my brain is somehow making.
Hellblade is not a game. I'm not sure I would ever want to replay this game again. You know, it's linear. I've seen what's in the game, but it's also, like I said, not necessarily a fun experience to go through. I think it's a worthwhile one, that's for sure.
Would you recommend?
I would wholeheartedly recommend it.
Okay.
I don't know if this is maybe presumptuous of me to say I'm a jaded gamer when I'm only 23 years old, but I find myself increasingly being enamored by things that offer more novelty to me. And I feel like there's a lot of novelty to be had in Hellblade. There's nothing quite like it.
From that, I will agree. Yeah. There is definitely a criteria that it has that is outstanding. That literally stands out. How big's the file?
I think I looked it up. It was something like 15 gigs around there.
Because of all the live action faces.
Could be. It's a very pretty game. So that's about all I had to wrap up on Hellblade. Definitely do recommend it. Moving on to the one other game I played. The one game I picked up in the Steam sale.
Is it also multiplayer?
No multiplayer that I know of. And this game, we first mentioned it a little earlier in the show. I'm talking about Slay the Spire.
Okay. Deck-based.
This is a hybrid of genres here because we've got a deck building, dungeon crawling, roguelike.
Yeah.
And if I liked Hellblade, Heath, I love Slay the Spire.
Really?
I'm about to gush my love for this game right here and now. So a deck builder, for the uninformed, is a game where the construction of your deck is the game, more or less. This term was popularized by the board game Dominion back in 2008 or so. I think that might be
really the first deck building?
I believe so. Maybe there's some obscure example that I don't know about, but Dominion is like the main one you think of when you think of the first deck building game. Now
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone came in 2014. So a couple years later.
Okay.
And you can reference Magic the Gathering as a game where you construct a deck, but that happens outside of the actual gameplay, right? You bring the pre-constructed deck to play with.
Yeah.
Well, in this, I'm specifically talking about the game itself is the construction of the deck. As you are playing against another person, you are slotting in cards you think are useful while taking out ones you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So in this, in Slay the Spire, you are trying to reach the 50th floor of this giant pillar.
Oh, it's Luigi's Mansion.
And I mean, you don't actually do any traversal yourself. You are just picking your route on this map. Like, I'm going to take this branch where I know I'm going to have to fight 2 enemy encounters, but then there's a treasure chest after that. So it's going to be worth it. Or maybe I take this other route where I get to make a pit stop at a merchant where I can browse their wares, buy some cards from them, maybe sell some of mine.
Yeah, how aggressive do you want to be?
Also on the map, they will highlight like elite enemy encounters for you, so you can seek out that tougher fight.
But he'll give you a Blue Eyes White Dragon.
He'll give you a better reward. That's right. When you win an enemy encounter in this game, it'll offer you a choice of 3 cards, and you get to pick one of them to add to your deck, which you will get to use in all of your future fights. There's also question marks on your map, it could be anything. It'll usually be some sort of choice that you'll have maybe like 3 or 4 options, and each one will come with its own pros and cons. For example, one I encountered was you have to like lose 4 points off of your maximum health for the rest of the game, but you're going to get this sweet card if you do. Or another crazy one was like lose all of your gold right now, but we're going to give you a sweet relic, which are kind of like permanent passive abilities.
Oh, that's like college.
Yeah, where college is knowledge, and
we'll give you this sweet diploma if you lose all your gold.
So Slay the Spire, big advocate for higher education.
So whereas like Pokemon, you bring your 6 guys that you've trained. In deck building games, you use cards, which are representative of like fighters and stuff.
Right. So it starts very bare bones. You have a deck of 10 cards where like 5 of them are attack and do 6 damage. 4 of them are like shields where you get to build up your block. And then you have like one special class specific card because the game has 3 classes in it based on the archetypes. You've got the Ironclad, who's kind of like your warrior. You have the Silent, who is like your rogue. And you have the Defect, who is like this magical robot, who's kind of like your mage. And much like I mentioned during my Into the Breach coverage, depending on which class you pick, you get access to entirely different libraries of cards. So the game plays very differently, to the extent where it's almost like a different game. Kind of like how I was saying in Into the Breach, where depending on your mech squad, the game is an entirely different puzzle to contend with.
Tell me the music is good.
It doesn't get in the way. It's pleasant, for sure. I have not gotten tired of listening to it in the 15 hours I put into the game. So just very basically, you draw 5 cards. You've got 3 energy or mana to spend on these cards, and you're attacking the enemy in front of you, or you're building up your block to absorb incoming damage. Those are the mechanics very basically. There's all sorts of sweet combos you can do though. And the game is tough, really tough. I've completed, I think, 6 runs or so. In a run, it will...
You get to the end of the dungeon.
Right. You go through 50 floors, where each floor is a pit stop along the way, either a fight or like a merchant or something. And you fight a boss at the end. Of my 6 runs, I've made it to the final boss 4 times and then actually beaten him twice.
Oh.
So he's beaten me 2 times.
Oh, and if you die, you lose all your stuff.
You start from scratch. That's right.
Oh, you suck.
But an entire run is like 3 hours or less. I'm still like grappling with the mechanics, so I'm going slowly.
This is like Binding of Isaac, kind of.
I've heard once you know at a glance what your cards do, you can finish an entire run in like 1 hour or so.
Yeah, when you get the top tier.
The game is tough. It's all about exploiting synergies you find along the way.
Oh, yeah.
You want cards that really amplify one another. And the game is balanced in such a way that if you aren't finding great synergies, you're going to lose. I've lost twice in Act 2 of the 3 acts, which is like not even, it's like halfway through.
How RNG, like can you just start a run and not get synergistic cards?
Yes, so adding to the game's replayability, there's a whole lot of RNG going on with what cards come up, what relics you acquire, what encounters you face. I've had some rough runs where nothing is coming together, but then there are those runs where everything comes together. And Heath...
God runs. Okay, tell me about your God runs.
I've had 2 God runs, the ones I've won, and I'll only share the one that really got me going. I was playing as the rogue character named the Silent. This is my 3rd time playing, had not won yet. And some of the random drops you can pick up, if you look at the top left of the screen, you see those like items up there. Those are your relics, and they are permanent items that will give you some sort of ability.
It's like Binding of Isaac.
And they can drastically change the way you play. For example, in the successful run I had, I picked up one that said, you no longer have to discard your hand at the end of the turn. That means any cards I don't play right now, I'm still going to have them available in my hand next turn. I can build up this like really big hand of cards, which normally you can never do. You're always just discarding anything you don't use. And then couple that with the fact that I already had a good amount of cards in my deck that give me more card draw, just help me cycle through my deck faster. Those 2 things in tandem meant that I was always going to have a big hand of cards. 10 is the max. If once you have 10 in your hand, you can't draw anything else. So that's an issue though, right? If I have all these cards in my hand and I'm not able to like expend them at the same rate I'm acquiring them, there's a problem there. So I came across another relic that really suited me that would give me permanently a 4th energy I could spend per turn as long as I was always at full health.
Ooh.
So now I get a whole extra 33% extra like currency to spend on these cards every turn as long as I don't take a single point of damage. So now my priority changes. How do I get the most utility out of this deck? I need to invest big into block. Block is like this thing some cards will give you where temporarily you will absorb a certain amount of damage coming your way. Much like in Into the Breach, enemies will telegraph what their attack is going, how they're going to spend their
the turn before. Yeah,
you can see
I'm going to smack this building.
You can see exactly how much they're going to hit you with, or you can see that they're going to build up their own block, or you can see if they're going to like cast a buff or a debuff. So with that in mind, I'm intentionally grabbing a whole bunch of big block cards.
Big block before the hit.
Because if even a single piece of damage sneaks through, I lose my energy.
Engine's gone.
My engine is gone. Now, the thing with block is, though, if you have any excess that the enemy doesn't break through,
you don't get to take advantage.
It will evaporate at the start of your next turn. So you're always back to square one on the next turn when building up your block. Also, I start prioritizing cards that are cheaper, maybe even free, just because I know card draw is cheap for me. I get tons of cards. If I have a whole bunch of cheap cards, I can just play them all in quick succession. I got even more synergy. I found another relic that every time I play 3 attack cards in a single turn, my dexterity stat permanently increases for the rest of the fight. And dexterity is the stat that governs how much extra block each card gives you.
Okay.
So a card that usually gives 5 block, if I have 2 dexterity, now it gives me 7 block. So as tougher encounters wear on longer and longer, my dexterity is going up and up, just further increasing the chance of me being able to block any incoming damage. I got this new card. It's called a power card, where if you play it, you've got an ability for the rest of the fight. This is some crazy poison ability where every time I deal unblocked damage to an enemy, it debuffs them with a poison status effect.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you hit them, the more potent that poison gets. So I'm already dealing a whole bunch of, not powerful attacks, I'm quantity of attacks. So the fact that the quantity of attacks amplifies the potency of the poison is great for me.
For people who are still listening, let's just sum this up. The sister feeling to big number go up is the synergistic hype that you get when you sort of Machiavellian a way of completing your objective given just like a random assortment of attributes. As fun as it is to hit something and deal way more damage than you were like at the start of a game, it's even more satisfactory, arguably, to take these tiny tools you had available and sort of manufacture a way of just stacking and multiplying your opportunities to do it. And then is this just like you hit go and you watch it all unfold, or?
It unfolds as you play each individual card.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a game of exponential growth, basically. Your actions at the end are going to be infinitely more effective than at the beginning. That run for me was so effective that when I reached the final boss, he never cracked my armor, so I never took a single point of damage.
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
Now, I just talked about like layers and layers of synergies, and that sounds like a lot to keep track of, but what's so great is you're only ever tweaking your deck by like a single card at a time. All of this incrementally grows so slowly that you keep up with the learning curve in such a way that every time you introduce a new mechanic to your deck, you've basically mastered it by the time you introduce the next one.
Ah.
So it never felt overwhelming to keep track of everything my deck could do. It grows in such a great learning curve that it keeps me consistently engaged without being overwhelming.
Yeah, you can't say that about every roguelike.
Right, yeah. I anticipate playing this like twice as much, if not more, than I've already played. I have yet to win with the third class, the defect. And the developers have promised there's a 4th class coming free of charge down the line.
It's the Chris class with even more synergistic schemes that you could do.
Yeah.
Slay the Spire devs. Put Chris in this game. He clearly loves it.
I do love it. You know, we talked briefly at the end of last podcast about board games. And playing this kind of made me realize if board games were a video game genre, they would be turn-based strategy roguelikes, because I know there are some real-time board games out there, but they're not the norm. So you're taking turns. Roguelikes are known for their randomization of elements, like that's represented by shuffling cards in a board game. And whenever you play a board game, you start back to square one, so they're roguelikes.
Oh yeah, when I lose in a board game, I feel like I have nothing.
Yes, precisely. So this Slay the Spire kind of holds the same appeal as a good board game does for me. It's scratching a similar itch, and I'm very excited to discover more synergies.
What do I play this on?
You can play it on your PC, you can play it on your Switch, and I did notice it's on PlayStation 4 as well. I don't know if it's on Xbox. Actually, I do know that it's on Xbox because it's on Xbox Game Pass. If you have that service.
Nice.
So it's on everything.
Okay. But it'll fill up my hard drive.
No, it won't. It's less than half a gig. I adore it. There is one unsatisfying feeling about the game. It happened once to me. It's where your deck is coming together. All right, so let's say your deck doesn't come together. You're not going to make it too far. You'll lose, and you can just start back again pretty quickly.
Uh-huh.
Let's say your deck does come together, and I made it to the final boss one time.
Oh,
It just so
do you get
happened
XCOM'd?
the final boss was a hard counter to the deck I had built. Where this is another deck where I was heavy on playing lots of cards per turn. And this, like, he was like this time boss where every 12 cards you play, he becomes more powerful, and then he immediately ends your turn right in the middle of it. So when you're playing like 7-8 cards per turn, suddenly every turn and a half you get cut short and he becomes stronger. So it was a race between us, but he eventually beat me because he was countering my strategy too effectively.
Okay. I'm sorry. Do enemies in this game have their own engines that like, or is that just the final boss kind of thing?
Do they have their own engines? Usually enemies in this game have a pattern they repeat.
Okay.
Where they might attack you, then buff themselves up, and then attack you again. Or maybe some are more complex than that. Some will summon minions to help them. Some will debuff you.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Enemy variety is pretty good, I would say. The annoying guys there's some thieves that every time they hit you, they'll steal 15 of your gold.
Oh, okay.
And then after a couple turns of doing that, they'll try to Pokemon escape the battle. And if they get out before you kill them, they keep your gold.
Ooh.
If you kill them before they escape, you get your gold back. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I anticipate playing this for a long time.
Okay.
I will try to keep future discussions about it less technical than this one. But I love it. I had to pick favorite strategy game I played so far this year. It is really close between Into the Breach and Slay the Spire. They're neck and neck.
Okay, good. All right.
Sorry, Wargroove, you're a third place.
Well, here, let me the next strategy roguelike that you play, let me play that because I wanted to play Into the Breach, but I don't want to saturate the podcast with talk of it. And then maybe this would have scratched my itch. So share the wealth, Chris.
Sorry, Heath. I'm too eager for those synergies.
I just got to look things up and beat you to the punch. Should we take a break?
Yes, I think we shall.
All right. And we're back. Sorry for all the dry synergy talk, Heath. No, dude, you know that I got super hyped up. Remember? Okay. The Pokemon clip that I cut from the previous episode, or however many it was. You know how hyped I got when the guy got burned, but because of a random ability, he got to pick up a random item that satisfied the burn, and then there was a sandstorm, and it hit the min roll for that to keep him alive. Like, whoa, that's just the confluence of events. Same goes, and if you were to spend the brain power to come up with the solution yourself, that's even better than than just, this weird coincidence. So Slay the Spire. I'll pick it up once you've episode 120.
It's funny. You feel like a chef. Like my deck needs a dash more of drawing right now.
Yeah.
But now I'm a little light on blocks, so sprinkle some of that in.
A smidge more of dexterity, yes. All right, on to corrections. Chris, when we were talking about good video game stories, is that what we did? We feel like we talk about that every week.
Are you just referencing how we discussed how people don't typically finish games?
Right. And you were like, if I was a writer, I wouldn't give a crap. And I was like, well, hold on. Look at Final Fantasy. Mitsuda made a great game. That name popped into my head. Mitsuda is not the creator of Final Fantasy. He's the composer for Chrono Trigger.
The same thing.
Which that's my joke. Yeah.
Sorry.
We don't give a crap about those games.
I would like to play Chrono Trigger one day.
If they remaster it, it's so old.
It's on Steam now.
I'm too busy playing Limbo. That was the only correction from last week. Chris, the first news item I want to talk about. Picture my niece is upstairs.
Yes.
She came to visit. She has yet to be introduced to video games. She's currently all about animals and colors. Although, can you think of kids these days You enter the room and your young relative is on the floor watching something on their device, and you ask, "What are you watching?" And they say, "The Witcher and Cuphead." What kind of future is this? So Netflix is making a Cuphead series.
Right.
And how, Chris? If you could pick a video game, they clearly wanted an animated comedy series. If you could pick an animated video game, which one do you think would take the longest to make?
It's well documented that Cuphead the game was delayed years and years because of how painstakingly long it takes to animate this. Is it 1930s style animation?
Oh, I just call it rubber hose, classic Disney.
Yes, it's like Steamboat Willie style animation.
Right. And the art that they use for the just like the thumbnail looks great.
Agreed.
I don't know how this is not going to come out for years. It's going to wallow. Whenever it comes out, it will be a hit. You can't put the MDA, what are these guys called? MDHR. They will painstaking, like you said, they'll slave over this for years. And it's fine because we know Cuphead sold 4 million copies. What does this article say?
Yeah.
Has sold over 4 million, which is pretty good for an indie game.
Agreed.
What else has MDHR made?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is nothing. You are the Cuphead boys now.
Yes, I agree with you. I think this will take a long time, but I think it will have a lot of appeal when it does come out.
What will Netflix make next? A Quantic Dream TV show? I'm trying to do like a out of this world reference. A Samurai Showdown TV show? That wasn't as crazy. Anyway, so that's just funny how, you could turn on Netflix and see Madden is a TV show. I don't know.
Yeah, Witcher and Cuphead, two kind of niche video game franchises.
What a world.
Getting the TV treatment.
Next on the list, we got Dr. Disrespect. So Dr. Disrespect was banned from Twitch because he filmed inside of a restroom at E3. And
wow,
that violated Twitch's terms of service. You can't enter like a private, just it's an obvious privacy violation. But he didn't do it intentionally. He wasn't like going over the stall and being like, haha, this guy. He did it more than once. The fact that he ended up in like 4 restrooms with the camera on is indicative that like they didn't know any better. But he did get banned. And when he was reinstated, it was the hypest return. Can you imagine, Chris, you at either your place of work or at like if we were still at school, being ousted for whatever reason. I can relate to this. And having the self-confidence to just take it on the chin and come back with as much enthusiasm as he didn't skip a beat. What we're watching right now is the intro to his broadcast when he first came back. And the Twitch chat is going nuts because it's like, hey, we haven't seen this for a while. Plus he spent look at this money, Chris.
There are lots of production values on the screen.
He's just a schlubby Twitch streamer. And like, look at this. Okay, so I don't know if it's just me being a video producer man, but it's just proof that he's the best at what he does. This like high octane machismo video game performance piece. And I don't really give a crap about his 360 headshots. That's his wife feeding him a burrito.
Oh.
But like, look at this world that he's built. Just because he's a mustachioed, headphones, bulletproof vest wearing, NBA finals going, slick. Like he has this like cologne in this video. We're getting to the meat of the video in a moment, Chris, and then you'll have time to talk.
I'm already impressed with what I've seen.
Isn't this like the hype is building?
So these are shots that he's stitched together from previous streams. That he's showing.
Look at this. Okay, here's the locker room, right?
Yeah.
Here's because he can like the fans are part of the Champions Club. And Dr. Disrespect plays in the arena. Trickle into the arena as you join the stream. Look at these slate black blazers that all the Champions Club members wear, and they change. And can you see this sign over here? It's a no photo sign in the restroom.
It's very self-aware.
Yo, leaning so in. It's astonishing. The fantasy is that there's like this cool club where we can play video games and lounge, and like that's not real. That's his cologne thing. There's so much to like about Dr. Disrespect that has nothing to do with video games. That was an amazing transition. I want to know how to do that actually. Look at him. Look at how cool he is just walking with security outside of, I don't know what event that was. Was it Comic-Con or something? You may gush about like synergies and stuff, but it's so much fun to have somebody who cares this much about like this image that he's built. Look at this freaking Marvel Cinematic Universe comic art. Amazing.
Wow.
And you know, he's all of 80s, so that it kind of fits with like the comic book aesthetic.
Right.
The part of what disillusions me is the gameplay. It's like, oh, that's all you're doing is you're playing games. But like he draws you in with the pomp and circumstance.
Absolutely.
There's no denying it. So I hope this is, you know, I had like the definitive Detroit thing. I hope this is like the definitive Dr. Disrespect thing. It's not what he's playing. He could be doing anything.
Yes.
It's the fact that he makes it transformative.
Yeah.
And I'm really just filling for time waiting for this.
Well, I've got two questions for you.
Okay, yeah,
Do
sure.
you know how long he was banned for? And do you know how he got reinstated?
Less than a month. I think they worked it out where, yeah, it wasn't there was no slated, like, this is your penalty time. That's from a commercially made for like his energy fuel, or it's just playing dodgeball against middle school girls. Yeah. So that was all pre-recorded footage.
This speaks to my ignorance about Twitch streamers. Does anyone else have budget and production values similar to this?
Only Tyler One.
Okay.
He is like the buff Twitch streamer. You surely have like recognized his like GIF reactions.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's actually really big in notoriety. Friggin' he has done sort of skits where he'll like dress up as a chef and dress up as a clown and do little fun bits that do require some setup. Yeah, he did like a Bob Ross tutorial.
Sweet.
So anyway, Twitch is in such a good state with these two amazing, and all they do is play video games. But I tune in, and so do a lot of other people, just because, you know, they make it fun.
Well, I bet they're sweating now because they've got some hot competition on the rise with Bernie Sanders' channel.
Yes, who I have yet to see any movement, but we have not forgotten our favorite Twitch senator. Moving on, there was an article on Yahoo Finance in which the Take This, which is a mental health nonprofit organization geared toward game devs and gamers themselves, they released a State of the Video Games Industry white paper. And apparently white papers are like documentation of like workplace conditions and specifically these guys' mental health. It basically talks about crunch, online harassment, layoffs, closures, basically doing an overview of the problems with the video game industry. And it's nothing that we haven't heard before. Overtime, crunch hours, stability of jobs, lack of advancement. The point I'm trying to make... oh, this is just like an about. I thought it would be more. I thought it was going to do a hot new take where it's like, this is the worst it's ever been.
So this is a report based on the state of mental health of people working in the video game industry.
Yeah.
Like how toxic of a environment is it to work in?
Yeah, I thought, wow, let's just zoom again. I thought it was going to show, ooh, what was that? A heat map? All right. Yo,
Joint inflammation.
What is this? Effects of chronic stress. difficulty concentrating. We're looking at the white paper. Yo, Chris, your sperm is affected by your gaming addiction.
Not fertility issues. I'm reading this as not necessarily the mental health of gamers, but people who are the developers themselves.
Yeah. We haven't necessarily gone a deep dive on. Ooh, okay, we can just read some stats. Stats are always good. You can never go wrong with stats.
Love them. Almost as much as synergies.
Here is a survey of working conditions for game devs. Almost 2/3 of them have been in the industry fewer than 10 years, which is, that's not uncommon.
It might seem a little high just on the face of it.
18% of them regularly work 45 to 59 hours a week. Over half report crunch is expected, often working 60 plus hours a week.
While only 18% of them are receiving overtime compensation.
Oof. Not what you want to hear. I just want, we're looking for pictures.
I'm very glad you really
took the time
to preview this article before discussing it.
Dude, I'm busy with Quiet Place 2. What are you making? Probably important software. This is just getting into like social. Ooh, gambling is fun. The central point were digital games and concerns that cover loot boxes. A loot box is a digital item that contains a randomized digital content. It's a digital mystery box containing an unknown item of unknown value. Players get them many ways, either by completing a quest, a trade, and some of them, however, can be bought with real money. And this is the kind of the one that's drawing attention from the EU, such as Belgium. Oh, in psychology, a variable ratio is a reinforcement schedule in which a user receives a reward after an unpredictable number of responses, such as slot machines. It would get an unknown number of lever pulls to get the money. However, its potency is whether the instrument is problematic. That wasn't a sentence. It's not clear whether or not they're gambling. Unlike a slot machine, a player is guaranteed to get something when they pay for a loot box. This is similar to when you buy baseball cards or Kinder Eggs. You know what you're paying for. In a sense, it's distinctly different from gambling, whereas the outcome is either win or lose. Currently, the amount of research is non-existent. The most comprehensive study, over 7,000 self-identified gamers, we love those, found a strong relationship between the amount of money spent on loot boxes and problem gambling indicators, such as no girlfriend. However, the authors have clearly stated that the research is correlational, and it remains unclear whether or not persons who reported symptoms of problems with gambling are attracted to loot crates, or if loot crates are leading to the problem of gambling indicators. Oh, this is like chicken and egg.
Yeah. Yes. You just spewed a lot of words.
I think that was a good read. That was a good find.
Sure.
What's next, Chris? Next is this article. All right.
The way you chose what to read from that article seemed totally random. You just flip through the pages, and before you I don't think you had time to preview anything. You just jumped into the dialogue.
In conclusion,
no, I'm done with this.
Right,
Close this tab.
We're done with that tab. All right. So I did give you this article.
You did. I read it. Yeah.
All right. So I remember looking at the newspaper that my parents would get as a kid, and seeing these Dear Abby columns, which are basically just you'd write in to this, I think, fictional person, and then at the newspaper they would provide a response. And there was one article in which this one grandmother with a grandchild age of 10, she flat out says he is addicted to video games. There has been quite a lot of publicity. Okay, they yet to identify what game it is. But the response from the paper is a 10-year-old child should regulate. All they do is address the tantrum.
I see you read this article as well.
Chris, I tried my... Friggin' how come they don't talk about the game? Wow, also devoid of content. The Nintendo Switch Lite.
How much of this is getting cut?
Here we go. All right, so Chris, when you think of the Nintendo Switch,
yes,
there's some things you could think about.
For sure.
The logo, maybe.
Not so much.
And the clicky sound that the logo made.
Mm-hmm.
Those are distinctive. Isn't Nintendo kind of undercutting their console, whose hallmark is that you click in the Joy-Con, by making a Nintendo Switch Lite, which is just a fused 2DS.
I was always saying, Heath, I'm tired of switching with my Switch. Let's take the Switch out. I'm kidding. But yeah, this is the Nintendo Switch Lite, the dedicated handheld version of the Switch. It's essentially a version of the Switch that does not switch, aka you can't plug it into a TV anymore. It no longer converts itself into a home console.
At its best, it is a more portable, kid-friendly alternative to a still somewhat luxury gaming device.
Potentially more durable and definitely cheaper.
At its worst, it is a leap start, friggin' cheapo. Like, what are you gonna? Yeah, it's one of these.
I think that's a little harsh.
Animal communication. That was not electronic. What you know the one I'm trying to think of, right? It's not. Oh, it's not leap start. It's leap stir.
Leap frog or
leap stir.
Leap stir.
Yeah, it's your Nintendo Switch Lite.
So
who is this for?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is for kids / people who really don't care about plugging in their Switch to a TV. There's definitely a precedent for doing this, like Nintendo has the Nintendo 3DS line, and they wanted to introduce a cheap way for people to get a system in the 3DS family, so they came out with the 2DS, which no longer folds, no longer has the 3D functionality, which is communicated through the naming, 2DS. That's not going to be able to do 3D anymore. So I think it's maybe slightly strange that obviously there's a lot of brand recognition by keeping the Switch name in the Switch Lite, but I do think it's really funny the Switch Lite no longer switches. But yeah, they shaved $100 off the price. It's now $199.99, which is an appealing price point. How do you feel about the 3 colors they have?
It's very Apple. I think red is clearly missing.
I think yellow was a strange inclusion when they're missing things like red, as you said.
Yeah.
Or even like a black. They've got turquoise, gray, and yellow. I like how the white buttons look aesthetically, but, if this is a console for kids with their grubby hands, I feel like the white buttons are going to get dirty pretty quickly, and it wouldn't show. It will show in a way that black analog sticks, it would kind of hide all the layer of filth.
Yeah, if you're going to give a game console to a child, make sure it's like matte black.
Right. I'm happy this exists, Heath. As a Switch owner who almost exclusively plays it connected to his monitor, this is not a product that appeals to me, but if it gets a Switch in the hand of more players, I think it's great.
But it's not a Switch anymore. Switches are like handheld to TV and you click it.
That's the core gimmick that no longer exists.
This is a Nintendo ditch our branding.
So this is rumored, and there have also been rumors of a Switch Pro model, which might be more appealing to me. I don't know. That implies that it would be pricier and come with some beefier hardware in it. But that is yet to be announced. Maybe that'll come around the time we're getting those next-gen consoles to compete. And the Switch Lite, it's worth mentioning, it's launching on September 20th of this year.
Yeah, we'll see how well it performs.
There is one tragedy, though. If you buy the Switch Lite, you can no longer play 1-2 Switch. It's not compatible.
Oof. You know who's playing? Some of the kid actors on set were playing 1-2 Switch.
Oh, were they?
They were playing the safe cracking game and Zen, which is literally just like you have to balance like a yoga pose, and the more you the less stable you are, the fewer points you get. But it's literally just holding the Joy-Con while you do like rising sun pose or whatever. Yeah, not a loss.
Question, Heath. Let's say you're at an airport. Do you have any reluctance to whip out your Switch and play it while you're waiting at the terminal?
Ooh, like any stigma about playing your Switch in the real world?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
I mean, or let's say on the bus or something.
Any public space, sure.
I have yet to. The last time I boarded a plane or got something out for like a long bus ride is just my laptop. because I'm a Civ addict.
Got it. So it sounds like you would have no qualms to play the Switch in
I
public.
played Wargroove during my break at work, and but that was in the privacy of a bathroom stall.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna let anyone see me.
You took out a Nintendo Switch on the toilet?
I mean, it's mine, and it's, I left it in its case, so the backside wasn't exposed.
Good thing the buttons weren't white on that one. Otherwise, they'd be brown
They'd
now.
be brown, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've played mine in public once, waiting at a car dealership for an oil change. However, there was one time I went to an airport waiting for a plane. This was before I had a Switch, and I felt uncomfortable taking out my PlayStation Vita and playing that, so I didn't.
God forbid a fellow adult would be like, what are you doing? Why aren't you checking your stocks?
Yeah.
You adult.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had any thoughts on the subject.
I mean, I brought my Switch to Buffalo thinking I would see if I could squeeze in some more stuff. But no, I've yet to put it to good use on public transit. So we will see.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like realistically probably nothing would happen.
No, I mean,
at worst, maybe someone who's interested in it comes over and strikes up a conversation.
At best, some kids would be like, "Oh wow, a real game." I put down my Candy Crush and watch you, and then it's like, "Yay, you did your public good,
public service."
Yeah.
Is that about it for the news?
Dude, that's it. That's all I got.
Well, that's okay, because when we come back from this break, we will have an email to read. Catch you then.
Do you follow Donald Trump?
No.
I don't either, but I liked one of his tweets. Just spoke to Kanye West about his friend A$AP Rocky. I will be calling the very talented prime minister to see what we can do about helping A$AP Rocky. I love how he's calling him A$AP Rocky.
What's his name?
I mean, I don't know, but I could like to think that the president is like, we will get A$AP Rocky out of the jail. A$AP. Like, oh man, that was wacky. And then did you okay, ready? So have you ever gone on Twitter and directed a tweet at a brand, and then the brand is like, "Oh, Chris, we're so sorry to hear you didn't like your McMuffin. What can we do to remedy this? Please DM us." So they took advantage of Delta's bot that would just give the lackluster default response. Excuse me, Delta. This is from Drew Gooden. Excuse me, Delta, but this is outrageous. I just got sucked out the toilet hole of one of your aircrafts, and now I'm hurtling through the sky. Can I get my money back? This never seems to happen on Southwest. And then the Delta checkmarked account is like, "Hello, Drew. I am sorry to learn of this. Can you provide more details? I got sucked through the toilet hole." It's so fun to think that, that did really well, that tweet. Better than, not as good as Trump's. Trump was crushing it.
I'm good on your Twitter feed.
All right, that's gone.
Should we get back to the show?
We're back from the break.
Yeah. And we have a email addressed to us coming from Lucas Dangling.
Okay, Lucas.
The subject of the email, in all caps, is who is the real gamer?
Oh, no.
Yeah, here we go. Hello, Heath and Chris. Longtime fan. Personally, I am a Team Chris member.
What does that mean? Who started that too? Was that Paco or who?
I guess we'll never know. I have a question that all of the fans of Mobius Tubes is pondering. Who is the better gamer? It seems like
skill?
It seems like each week when we tune into the podcast that you guys are always playing games separately. I would like you to battle in a game
1v1
to see who the true gamer is. My suggestion is to play 3 games, and winner is the best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, you pick one, I pick one, and then probably a third party picks a game.
That sounds fair. One potential suggestion he has is maybe do an older retro game like Tetris or Pac-Man, then do a classic game like Smash or Mario Kart, and then a newer game that you can decide on.
We haven't played Smash this year.
Not against each other, no. He said, hopefully this is a good idea. I would just like to cause some conflict on this rather peaceful podcast. Your loyal fan, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas. Man, this is just Civil War 2. All right. Yeah. Okay. So let's pick the classic game. Yeah. I don't want to do Pac-Man because that's just it's just like beat the clock basically.
Right. What classic games are good head to head?
Well, Tetris 99 I think has a 1v1, even though usually it's 9. I mean, there will definitely be like practice involved. Like we're not going to jump into it right now.
No, we need to be practiced in our prime, ready to go to have a authentic competition here.
Can you 1v1 of this game?
Or we don't have to follow his recommendation. We could do you pick one, I pick one, and then our fans pick one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was gonna leave it up to the fans to be the third party. So I liked Lucas's suggestion, or maybe we can just make it 5. Or,
5 games.
Yeah, you like your choice of game, my choice of game, fans' choice of game, and then we'll do like a retro game.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a retro game,
and then
we agree upon.
Sure. And the 5th one is just Smash Bros.
The 5th one, I mean, can you off the top of your head think of another mainstream, current, modern 1v1 style game?
No, I like the Smash Bros suggestion.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
And then Smash is going to be best of 5 3 stock.
Of course, Final Destination only.
Wait, Final Destination only? Are you serious? No.
We'll discuss the
Hazards
logistics later.
Okay, but that'll be Can we just think of? I'm gonna think of my game of choice, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
As I pull up my Steam library.
1v1 Stanley Parable. Let's go.
That would take forever.
Speed run.
Yeah.
I see Nidhogg.
Do I dare? No, I'm Seth beat me in that game, and he doesn't even play games. Damn! Look at all these not co-op games.
Well, I'm thinking of what I have available to play. I think I know what game I would choose for my choice.
What? Like what?
I'd probably go with Wargroove.
What? Because your track record is impeccable?
Impeccable, that's right.
Oh my gosh.
100% win ratio.
What the heck? Your games you can fight each other in.
I have...
Well, we should... should I do it like an auto chess? Because that's what we've been asked to do.
Yes.
Explain what auto chess is for folks.
Oh, man. Auto chess is a hole in our content. Our fans are clamoring for auto chess coverage. There's like 3 big ones out there. It's Dota Underlords. Is that the name? Underlords.
Just Dota. Just call it Dota.
Well, no, this is...
the auto chess variety.
Version.
Oh, sorry. I forgot what we were talking about.
There's the actual mobile app called Auto Chess, and then there's Teamfight Tactics, which is League of Legends spin on the genre.
All right, my game of choice is Dive Kick.
Okay.
So we got for the who is a better gamer, we got Heath's pick. Think of classic games. Heath's Dive Kick. Chris's Wargroove.
We've got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah.
A classic one. Let's see. Things that come to mind are like Joust. I don't know. We could compete on score on like Centipede, or compete on score in like Space Invaders.
Oh, we should play. What's it called? What was like the first game ever?
Pong.
Well, no, like even before Pong, it's probably like Recreational Game 37 or something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
37? I don't know. What's like before Pong? Yeah, that. 1958 Games that came before Pong. Here we go. Tennis for 2. My vote is tennis for 2.
Yeah. That's like the precursor to Pong, right? I'm not sure if... I think Pong would suffice. I'm not sure if you can actually play that.
Here we go. Sure. Yeah, we'll play. Okay. We'll do Pong for the time being.
Sure. That suits me well. We'll have Pong be the classic competition.
Or Minecraft.
So, fans, please write in with what game you want us to compete in for the fan category. And we will consider all of your suggestions.
If Tetris 99 has a 1v1, we're going to do that instead.
Okay, that's fair. I'd be fine with that.
But we'll save that.
So, this might take place over the course of a couple episodes. We'll give you progress reports on the competition.
Oh, we will record it.
Oh, we're recording it.
Yeah, we can definitely. Oh, how do I do Wargroove? I gotta do like a capture card of both of our things. That'll be fine. Yeah, that'll work.
So let's see. We have Dive Kick is kind of a fighting game, right?
Oh yeah, it's 2D.
All right. So we
have a fighting game, a strategy game, Smash, which that you can't really call that a fighting game necessarily.
Pong is more of a reflexes game, I'd call it.
Yeah.
Dexterity.
So let's ask the fans to come up with not a shooting game. That'd be lame. We shouldn't give them any indication because who knows what our fans think games are. They might be like Cabela's.
I don't know what that is.
That's the hunting series.
Oh, okay.
You know what Cabela's is?
That'll be about it for the show this week.
Hop to it, folks. Pick a game here. Go on my Twitter and ask me, DM me whether or not you think it's a good game, and I'll give you the okay. And then you'll all vote. We will. Should we poll them? Should we come up with options and poll them?
We'll see if we can probably save that one for last,
or we'll take their suggestions. We'll do the ones that we get actually film, and then we'll poll them maybe.
Sure, we can be flexible with our method. So maybe for next week, Heath, you should dive into one of those auto chess games to get some familiarity with it. Our clamoring fans.
I had things on that I wanted to play, but then I got to be at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which wasn't. It's
Sunday.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I'll get to auto chess myself when I can.
All right. And that's a wrap for episode 20 of Mobius Tubes. You can write to us just like Lucas did and send us an email at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
And follow us on @MobiusTubes on Twitter.
Interact with us on all your favorite social media platforms as long as they're Gmail and Twitter. And
tweet me games that we should fight.
Yep, or write them in an email. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Teaser for the next episode, Heath. I'm gonna have some hot takes on some fresh games that I'm excited about.
Okay.
It's going to be very exciting.
Uh-huh.
Super duper exciting. And that's about it.